So what we will speak about today, we will speak about radicality and taking that kind of hard choice to pursue success of your company. So I want to talk about that because I think there is a lot of confusion around what is being radical. And one of the things we always repeat and repeat and repeat to our startups in every single office hours, in every single meeting, in every single way we can, is you should be more radical. It's kind of a mantra around the family. It's kind of a motto. It's something like we deeply religiously believe in, and we think that anyone doing a startup should be radical. Why? Because that's the only way to start. That's the only way to start out of the ground. You can see the radicality as a kind of amount of energy you put inside your startup. More you are radical, more you put energy, and more the idea that your startup will take off the ground will be high. To understand that, you can just tell you this image that no one remember any average people. Let's say you are a party and everyone dressed the same. If someone come and dress as a clown, maybe you will not like him, maybe you will find that disrupting, maybe you will be thinking that that is not appropriate, but at least you will remember him. And the question for startup is how to get remembered in the world where anyone can start a startup. I was kidding yesterday because I was waiting my mom at the airport, and some guy told me, "What are you doing in life?" And I say, "I run a startup accelerator," because I say this kind of things sometimes when I want to make the conversation quick. And the guy was like, "Oh, that's so great, I have a startup." And I was like, "Really? You have a startup?" And the guy was maybe 80 years old. So, so that's what startups are today. It's something that anyone can do, anyone can dream about startup, anyone can consider himself as an entrepreneur. And I'm in the kind of people that think that's a good news. I'm not in the side of people that say, "Oh, before it was only real people that with real courage that become entrepreneurs." That's bullshit. Like, anyone can become an entrepreneur. That doesn't mean that everyone will become an entrepreneur, but at least that everyone can try only at least once or multiple times if they have enough courage for that. So there is a book that we love at the family. It's written by a guy called Saul Helsinki. The name of the book is Rules for Radicals. It's a very old book, 1971. Now, not have been written for startup, and for us is one of the best startup building lesson. So just to give you a little bit of context, that book is a kind of book that made Obama campaign in 2008. Hillary Clinton said that that book has been a life changer for her, and every left-wing political in America read that book. It's kind of political communication 101, and it's a very funny book because before, being left-wing in American politics was about being nice. And liberals started to understand that nice, he has this expression, nice always finish last, is the idea that in politics it's a very hard fight. At the end there is only one winner, and if you want to win, you need to be radical. So let's take that quote that we love: "Before men can act, an issue must be polarized. Men will act when they are convinced that their cause is 100% on the side of the angels and that the opposition are 100% on the side of the devil. There can be no action until issues are polarized to this degree." You understand why politics become horrible. Like, this is a single biggest problem of politics. But you are doing a company. You are not doing something smart. You are not doing something to change society. You are doing something to win. And when it's question of winning, nothing should be on your way. You should do whatever it takes. And whatever it takes is about making your message crystal clear and making your message very, very strong. That's something very important. And that goes through polarization. So polarization is something very simple. Is that when you say that you are doing a company for teenagers, moms, fathers, and everyone that can use, that's not polarization. Polarization is about making very strong market stance and market choice. Let's take the family as an example. We polarize everybody inside this ecosystem by giving our own definition of entrepreneurship. When we say and we come and give workshop, we always give the same lesson, how to build a billion-dollar startup. Do you think entrepreneurship is only about building billion-dollar startup? Of course not. Like, there is thousands of ways to be entrepreneurs. If you look about, everyone can find his own definition of entrepreneurship and find his own way and be happy. And I'm sure that thousands of lifestyle entrepreneurs are much more happy than the average entrepreneur at the family that try to build a Google and fail. There is no issue about that, but that's not the question. It's not what we are for. We are here to build an infrastructure to help people build billion-dollar company. And if you don't want to build a billion-dollar company, it's better that you stay out. That's why the family works. Because people come in, they know why they come for. And they have this idea and this sharing and this mentality that make everything easier. And that's what is about polarization. It's about the fact that no one on the first can save the world. No one on the first can be friend with everyone and have everyone as a customer. And each person you refuse inside your company is a person that will make your marketing. Each person that hates you will be a person that makes your marketing. Who are the best promoter of the family in Paris? Every single incubator is telling that we are bullshit. They are our best friends. They don't get it, but each time they say that, people will judge them. And people will be, do I look like this kind of people? And if yes, they will hate us, and that's fine. And if they are in the position to say, oh my God, that guy look weird, I don't want to be recognized to that guy, people by definition will love us, not because they know us, but just by reaction. Last week we have these crazy billionaires that came here, is a Danish billionaires, and said, oh, I want to invest in the family. Okay, I don't do the Danish accent well. So I want to invest in the family because every single stupid VC I met in Europe hates you. And do you know what we do? No, I don't care. That's polarization. Is that you reach a level where people can be just have two single choice. With you, against you. If you can achieve that around your company, you have a huge win. And why? Because being an entrepreneur is not just about selling. It's not just transactional. Like, if you think that building a startup is just a question of having some clients and do some transaction and that will show some traction, you will get wrongly fail. Why? Because it's impossible to know if you are on the path of success if you are not sure that people are advocating for you and if people are not educated by you. And one of the best rules in education is that you need to simplify. If you want that someone remembers something, you need to simplify the message to a point where it gets the basic idea, and from that it can level up and build up and understand more and more complexity. Let's say I want to teach you something about math and you never did any math in your life. And I will start with fractal equation or differential equation. What will be the probability that you get anything I say more than for 5 seconds? It's 0. But let's say you don't know anything about math and I tell you about addition and I learn to you how to count. That will be your very simple idea of math, and any child learning to count thinks he's doing math, even if he's not doing math at all. Why? Because it's educating him. Because every education goes from a simple message to a more complicated message. But you need to start with the simple message, and starting with the simple message is about convincing people to the heart. You cannot convince someone to his heart with something complicated. That's why caricature is your friend. It's not being subtle, being fine, being all this smartness around, don't sell. You need to be caricaturally understandable. Let's say why every Tinder-like are failing. You know, if you look at the dating market, why Tinder is such a success? I like, I don't like. And look at everyone building something around Tinder. What are they doing? They try to add more mechanism design because some people don't like this very simple and basic experience. And what happened is that they don't convince more people. Because the people that are not sold by this simple principle, I like, I don't like, are not the kind of people that will be sold to anything. The question is that most of people go in a trap that we call the lean trap at the family. Is that they apply learn startup, they learn about lean startup, and they go out and talk to the random 10 people and tell them about something very average, and the 10 people say, oh, wow, that's wonderful. You are on something. And they come back and say, I have traction. I know 10 people that are buying what I'm doing. What we ask as a question is, how many people are ready to die for you? That's a very startup question. Because the 10 first client should not be average client. The 10 first client should be so intense about what you are doing that you represent light, you represent life, you represent something very basic in their life that nothing else counts. If you can achieve that, you are radical because you build something that has a meaning. You build something that matters. And if you build something that matters, every other step will be easier because that will be your army, that will be your force. And more your group at beginning is big, and more you can go far. Why? Because polarizing is about virality. Nothing is viral without polarization. Nothing is viral without radicality. Why? Because, again, it comes down to the simple force that you need people that are your real fan and your real supporter. And not supporter in the sense that they find what you are doing cool. Supporter in the sense that what you are doing is center of their life for the time they will speak about it. And that's not easy. And there is this quote I love from Rework. It's a book by the Best Camp team, Rework. And there is this quote that I think that's, by the way, the only quote I like in the book. I don't know if the book is good or not. I find the book so boring, but that quote was waking me up. A strong stand is how you attract super fans. You see the concept of super fans? Because fan is not enough. Like you can replace super fan by like crazy people that we don't get why they love us so much, even if our product is so buggy. You see? That's super fan. So a strong stand is how you attract super fans. They point to you and defend you. They point to you and defend you. So they represent people that will be the one that recommend you and will be also the people that defend you against every critics that will be out there. Because doing something new always attracts critics. And they spread the word further, wider, and more passionately than any advertising could. Strong opinions are not free. You will turn some people off. They will accuse you of being arrogant and aloof. That's life. For everyone who loves you, there will be others who hate you. If no one's upset by what you are saying, you are probably not pushing hard enough. And you are probably boring too. And that's the case of 99.9% of startups that apply at the family. They don't piss off anyone. They try to be friends with everyone. They try to do the perfect product that their mom will be proud of. But your mom will not represent anything in your success. And no one loving you will represent anything in your success if they don't love you enough. And the only way to achieve that is to create a small group of people that think something different from the others. And that is a very important idea. You will turn some people off. Of course, doing anything will turn some people off. For example, this morning I was on Twitter. I even deleted my tweet because I have nothing to do with that. But there was this random writer that wrote that every fintech startup is a liar. Because nothing has been invented in finance since Renaissance. Wow. That's a very smart idea. Like, of course, innovation was in Renaissance. You know, Venetian banker invented convertible loan and notes and bank loan and blah, blah, blah. And everything else is not innovation. And few tweets later, she's like, yeah, it's like all these people that love Uber. I don't see where is the difference with a taxi. It's still a car, still a driver. And when she said that, thousands of people tweeted against her. That's the funny thing. She can come and say something totally stupid. There is no innovation in finance from 7 centuries. Of course, credit card, wire, electronic transfer, computer. No, all of that don't exist. Venetian banker get all of that right. No one reply because no one cares. Like she can say that on Twitter, having 300,000 followers, and no one will react. Few tweets later, she feels comfortable. I imagine her behind her computer saying, wow, this is a good day. I say horrible things and no one notices. And she says something on Uber, and she cannot use her Twitter account for 2 days. Why? Because she receives so much backlash. Because people are like, what? Are you kidding? Taxi are so horrible. Oh, what? Are you kidding? I love my Uber. What? Are you kidding? I can die for Uber. It's totally crazy. Like, why are we so engaged with Uber? Because they put the idea in every one of us that taxi people are assholes. Right or wrong, true or false, anyone using Uber more than 3 times a week and come from the taxi world know that that is true. You see how biased I am? And that's what is about being a fan. Being a fan is not about rational conversation. It's not about fact. It's not about numbers. It's not about statistic. It's about heart. It's about this sensation that, yeah, the world is a little bit better because Uber is here. Wrong or false, true or not, no one cares when he thinks that. The only thing he wants to know is that this idea will survive or not. And if someone is a threat to this idea, he will fight. Like everyone fighting to save Uber on Twitter. I don't remember the name of this writer, but anyway, she's not very interesting. So that's what strong opinions are. Strong opinions are kind of a protection, a shield that you put around your startup that will separate the people that are with you from the people that are against you. And that shield is very important. But understand me well. Like, there is a confusion that we always get from some startups. Sometimes we have people that think that they are radical because they are horrible. Being radical is not about being a jerk. Being a radical is not about being unpolite. Being radical is not about being just a kid that asks everyone to fuck off because he's radical. Like, that's not being radical. Being radical is about being very consistent in what you think and how you express it. That's what being radical is about. Being radical is about being very, very strong on what you believe in and don't change because you receive something on the short term that can be interesting. For example, we met Supercell, someone working at Supercell. You know, it's a gaming company. I find they do Clash of Clans and other game. I never played that, but everybody tell me that that's a great game. So what really interests me about that, guys, is that they are crazy radical. If you go on the website of Clash of Clans, or if you look at their communication, you will come and tell me, I don't get it. It looks very mainstream, it's for kids and adults, it's for everyone, and it seems to be nice, and it doesn't look radical. You know why it's radical? Because they never go against their player in the mechanism design. In a world where everything you like, every gaming company, every Candy Crush alike, try to screw player with mechanism design that make you pay for angers, they took the stance to make people for happiness, to make people pay for happiness. You can play Clash of Clans totally free without ever paying anything. And they have such a long-term commitment that average players start to pay on Clash of Clans after 2 years of usage. That's radicality. In a world where everyone tried to monetize games very fast, they did something totally crazy. And if you don't see why it's radical, go to talk to any venture capitalist in the gaming industry. But they become a billion-dollar company because they get the heart of everyone. And they take very radical game design. For example, they launched 51 games. Only 2 survived. 51 games. Only 2 survived. Why? Even 1 million players was not enough in their definition of success. They killed game with 1 million players online. Why? Because engagement was too weak. Retention was too low. And they kill it without any flinch. That's radicality. So radicality is not like you can come and say horrible things, but you will not be radical if you don't really mean them. Being radical is not about making the buzz. Like, for example, if you want a little bit lesson of radicality and you want to do something that really is not look like radical, but everybody will consider radical, look Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a perfect example of a guy that thinks he's radical, but is not doing anything radical. For example, he say, I go to a TV show only if you donate to my charity. And CNBC refused to give money to the charity, and he go to the debate. That's not radicality. At least that's very bad negotiation. In the best word, that's a bad negotiator. The reality is that it's just someone that don't believe in anything. It's just trying to do coup. Like coup after coup is things that just doing that, it will stay in the polls. Obviously, now in politics, it works. But if you do that in the startups, it will not work. It will not work because people know the fake between fake radicality, and real radicality. So you can be very nice and you can be radical. Being radical is about making bold choice. Being radical is about the fact that you will never sell yourself too short or too early because something changed in the landscape. Being radical is about being very, very consistent on your principle. And there is thousands of different fashion ways to be radical. Being radical don't compel you to care. Caring a lot and always is even more important when you polarize. If you polarize people, you need to be nice. If you polarize people, you need to be sure that every single people that is against you is treated with respect. If you polarize, you need to always stay calm and you need to always stay factual. You need to never go in the angry side or the troll side, or you should always let people understand that your view on the world is a very personal view. And thanks to our democracy, no one is forced to be with you. Being radical is about the fact that you have the liberty of choice. You have the liberty to think whatever you think and to express it very, very strongly. And being radical is also about being, we need to change that, guys. It's about being crystal clear. Why? Because no one understands complicated message, especially when they are radical. When they are radical, you need that every single sentence you say don't have an over-interpretation that's the one you intend to give. For example, you want a good lesson of radicality? Look at our manifesto on the wall. Why did we put a manifesto on the wall of the family? Because we want that every single people getting inside the family read it and have only 2 kinds of feeling, with or against. No one can read that and not get what is written. No one can read that and be like, yeah, I kind of agree. You cannot kind of agree. You agree or you disagree. And why? Because sentences are very short, sentences are very assertive, and sentences are crystal clear. Like, we wrote that manifesto in 15 minutes. It took us 15 minutes to write it. I can tell you this personal story. I was sitting in our last office on the floor, and Ali said, oh, we don't have a manifesto, we should write it. And I wrote the 4th version, Alice corrected it, Nicola make it clean, and it was done. 15 minutes, 5, 5, 5. Why? Because the principles that are written there are at the heart of our mission. We don't need to debate. If you need to debate your manifesto, you have a team problem. If you need to debate your principle and how you need to become radical, it's just that you don't believe enough in what you are doing. And that is the problem with most of the startups. Most of the startups are just built by people that think that building a startup is about making everyone happy, and especially on the fact that no one should find a way to criticize yourself. It's not a question of criticizing yourself. It's not a question of having haters, because remember, haters gonna hate. No, it's a question of having everyone on your side, giving them the right argument to go against the others. And don't forget something. Being radical means that often you will be wrong. That's the price you pay when you are radical. The price you pay is that sometimes you don't get it right. But you know what is the great thing about being radical and wrong? Is that when you are radical, you discover that you are wrong much faster than when you are not. Because when you are radical, you don't have any excuse about why you are wrong. You don't have any excuse about why you fail. Because you don't have any excuse about why you are not at the position of traction you should be. If you are average, if you are the kind of people that go out and say things that are like, yes, sometimes we do that and sometimes we don't, and we can do whatever you want. Like, how do you want that anyone tell you what you are doing is bad or what you are doing is bullshit? Because no one has anything to tell anyone that is average. But if you are radical and you go out, what will happen is that everybody that thinks something against you will have a clear way to tell you if it's right or not. And you will have a very easy market landscape after a few weeks. Because everyone against you will be clear, everyone with you will be crystal clear. And if you have no one with you, you can change. For example, I can give you an example. One day, like, it's a very funny story in our story. One day we realized that we can, how to say it nice, we can make a lot of money by creating a real acceleration program. So I will tell you our issue. Our issue was very simple. Thousands of applications and capacity to manage them. Like, even replying to email was really too hard. And the problem with opportunistic driven people like us is that when we see that, we see a market. We told ourselves, you know what, let's just make people pay for a kind of an undergrad acceleration program. So every people will refuse at the family, we will tell them, look, you are not good enough to join the family fellowship. I'm sorry for that. But you can pay 10,000 euro and join exactly the same structure. Like, that idea went horribly wrong. Like, I think after a week, we even said that it was a joke. Because sometimes when you are radical, you get wrong. And that's fine. And how did we get to be wrong at that point? For a very simple reason, is that you should never do anything for the money. And we know that, and we tell that everyone every time. But when you are in companies, sometimes you forget that. Let's say now we did not do it the radical way. Let's say we did it the average way. We will be the Numa. We will be an acceleration program and sell it to people. And that will not be us. Because other people can do that much better than us. We cannot do that because we told everyone that we are here to build billion-dollar company. And if we take that motto out, and if we don't keep to that principle, and if we do anything that don't help that, we will be wrong. And people will see that it's wrong, and people will see that it's not us. Like, we even receive email from people when we announce that to our private list that say, did you get hacked? Like, you see how when you have a strong community, they can tell you something very important. But sometimes you need to don't listen to complaints. I was giving you the example of switching to English. I know that it's much better to listen me in French than in English, but that's fine. In a year, you will see it will be better in English than in French, and I will work hard for that. But when we have a complaint from people saying, for example, I received an email telling me that someone told me, I was loving the family because you was here to save France. And now you speak English, you are just a fucking American capitalist. And I told myself, oh my God, I did not have been crystal clear on that. The family never tried to save France. Saving France is an impossible mission that no one here never had. Like, our mission is to make 200 companies successful a year. That's much simpler mission. That's much more focused mission. And I know that a lot of people put in us superpower we don't have. And one of them, obviously, was, oh, they will save France or change France. I will tell you something. No one change a country. Countries are what they are because they are the result of thousands of small things. You can do small things that maybe one day will impact the country. Maybe one day the country of France, if the family if we build 100 Xavier Niel that are all friends together and hang out with the next president in 20 years, maybe they can take decisions that will change a little bit the country. But the idea that someone can have the mission to change a country is, in the best scenario, a fool or a total stupid guy. But the reality is that that guy saw in us a mission he don't recognize anymore. And we are so happy he don't come to events anymore. Because if that kind of people get inside your community with the wrong idea, they will screw the community on the long term. Because every time someone don't get who you are about, on the long term, you pay the price. And every single French tech represent that are very proud to be French and speaking French and thinking that we are building French company to make France beautiful in the world are not inside the family mission. Because we are not building French company, we are building good company. And if they are in France, it's fine because we love to live in France. Why anyone will not like to live in France? It's not a question of building a French company, it's a question of building a great company with people that live in France. And that part of the question is less important than building a great company. And this is why most of our entrepreneurs, they build office abroad, they speak English, and they go global. Because for them, it's not a question of being French. It's a question of being big. And that's what our mission is about. So don't be worried to be wrong. It's better to be wrong hard and quick and change because you realize that it doesn't work than just be weak or average and taking years to realize that no one cares about what you are doing. So, one of your luck is that being radical is much easier when you are a startup. Why? Because changing the name of a startup or changing the concept of a startup or even changing the domain name of a startup don't cost much. Let's say you are a very big publicly traded company and you decide to do something really radical and it goes wrong. What happened? You have thousands of problems. You cannot hide yourself and change and say, I'm so sorry, I will go back and revert. It's so hard. Let's take, for example, the Netflix example. Netflix did something really bold a few years ago. They switched from subscription, postal service subscription, to full digital online concept. What happened? Every postal service subscriber go out and yell at Netflix. And Netflix managed it very wrong. Instead of being strong, because the shares plumped into the stock market and went minus 20%, minus 30%, minus 40%, everybody freaked out, even Netflix CEO. And he did a PR campaign saying that now Netflix will be two companies, one for the online, one for the offline, and the offline will receive a special team support client, blah, 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 and the stock get back. But the problem with that is that Netflix went way too much radical on the first step. The better way to do that was maybe to say, okay, we are switching to an online model. We will give a discount for everyone that have an offline subscription to go online. Why? Because Netflix forget that they are not a startup anymore. When you are a multi-billion traded publicly company, everything you do always go wrong. That's a very simple motto. Why? Because you have so many people that are just spending all their day to watch you and see what you are doing. So, of course, anything you do can be criticized, and we will find a way to criticize you. When you are a startup, you don't live in that world. We are always surprised how at the family, sometimes we have conversations with startups that are so wrong. For example, I cannot do that. If it goes wrong, my reputation is over. To have a reputation, people need to know you first. No one knows you, so you don't have a reputation. No, but the press will talk. You know, if the press talks, that will be a good news, considering your situation. Because no one in the press is interested by you. So I call that, you know, the child reality. You know, when you're a child, you think that you are center of universe. And, okay, maybe not you, me, when I was a child, I was thinking that I was center of universe. And you have this feeling that everything works around you. School open when you go to school. You eat when you are hungry. We do like you don't like a movie, you just cry and the movie change. There is so much power in the child. You know why? Because they are fucking radical. They don't care of what other thinks because they don't realize yet that there is other people. Like, understand, you open your eyes, there is all these random people around you, and they are here for years and take care of you. So you're a little king on the mountain. And someday, it can start earlier than on some people. Some people can start late. I was kind of a king child, so it started late. And people start to tell you, you know, there is other people feeling and you need to deal with them. And that's hard. Like, you realize that you are not center of universe and you need to deal with everyone around you. Startups are exactly the same. Startups starting are like child. So I'm doing my prototype, and in 3 months, I will go on market. TechCrunch will write about me. And after that, I will raise my seed. And when I will have raised my seed, I will go for 9 months of traction and raise my Series A. And after that, I will hang out with Mike Jaggers because I will be so cool. And you're like, okay, so let's start from the beginning. Why anyone will download your product on first place? And that's hard to realize. It's hard to realize that you launch and no one cares. It's hard to realize that you send emails to journalists and no one reply. And what happened, you have two choices as an entrepreneur. You can grow up very fast and realize that everything is about effort, conviction, advocating, education, and pushing really, really hard. Or you can stay a child and die in horrible agony because child will take care of them. Startup, no. So people get, at the end, people get pissed off by the startup, and after 2 years or 3 years, usually in France, 18 months, because that's the time of social, you know, Pôle emploi. So after 18 months, people get back to a real job, and they get back to being an adult again. But what you need to take as a startup is not that. What you need to take as a startup is that you are small, and you can do whatever you want because no one will care until the moment you are big. And when you are big, you can change and you can amend and you can go back on that. For example, for me, one of the best companies for that have been Facebook. For example, you know why I love Facebook? Because I remember seeing Copain d'Avant. And who know Copain d'Avant? Yeah, so it's still famous. So Copain d'Avant is our French Facebook. It's widely successful during 6 months. And there was something incredible with Copain d'Avant, is that I remember having this discussion with a friend that told me that Copain d'Avant refused to install a Gmail importer because the term of service of Gmail was against having an importer. So the importer is what? Is that you can connect all the emails in your mailbox and sending them an email about Copain d'Avant. Facebook was doing that at scale. So when you subscribe to Facebook, they will connect your Gmail account, sending thousands of emails, and sending so many emails to your friends until the point is annoying. I don't know if you remember Facebook at the beginning, but if someone here have been on Facebook in 2008, you will receive 100, 200, 300 emails to tell you subscribe to Facebook until you do. They did not care. They was pushing you until the point where you will just go mad and crazy. And I know some people in my entourage that subscribe on Facebook just to stop the emails. And during that time, Copain d'Avant was doing a PR campaign. And they lose. Of course they lose. Because you cannot, like, if you are not confident enough that your product will be good enough so people will forgive you this spammy attitude on the beginning when you was this child startup, how do you want to succeed on the long run? If you are not courageous enough to go out and say, look, I will spam you and I will hurt you, but it's for your good, because I deeply believe that it's for your good. And if I'm wrong, I will fail. If you are not courageous enough to do that, you cannot succeed on long term. During that time, Copain d'Avant was reading terms of service. I don't know if at Facebook anyone ever read any term of service of anything. I have the feeling they don't. And I know why. Because for them, what was important was to be sure that everyone loves the product and that no one deserves the right to don't try it once. No one deserves the right to don't try it once. Think about that sentence. Think how weird that sentence is. Think how weird that belief is. But that belief builds empire. Because that's what is building an empire about. It's about this universal thought that you think what is good for you is good for everyone. And you will be radical enough to go out and impose that to everyone. Being radical, again, is not about negative message. Like the most radical and the best company in terms of radicality are the ones that are the most fun. You need to never take yourself seriously enough to don't understand that there is always an opportunity to be fun. And being fun is something very important because more you are radical, more if you can do it with a soft touch, with a fun touch, you will get it right. For example, right now in the family portfolio, I'm so impressed by the radicality of Trusk. Trusk is one of our company that if you look at their marketing, if you look at their message, if you look at everything they do it with a very open heart. And it's fun. And for example, they take videos without the copyright, put it online, do marketing with that, get thousands of views, and no one ever asked at Trusk if that was an IP infringement. Because they don't care, and they are right to don't care. Because they are not at the level as a company that they should care about. They are at the level of a company that the only thing that is important right now is to tell your message out. And of course, there is thousands of haters. Like on the first Trusk received on support, people that said that is Uberization of Trusking, yeah. So of course a lot of people will be against that, but that's what is not important. What is important will be every single client that will have a wonderful experience. So don't take any chance to be fun out of the picture. Always take care of your clients. Always make sure that everyone using you is about understanding who you are. And that's the last thing. I think startups don't think enough about what their soul is. They always artificially ask questions about that. I see so many startups that do brainstorming asking themselves what is their culture, what is their value, what is all of that. If you need to brainstorm to discover what are your value, it's just because you are boring. Like if you don't have any idea of what you stand for as a company, it's maybe because it's not the right idea and you need to do something else. If you want to do something that matters, all of that needs to be obvious. And why it's obvious? Because it's inside you. Like at the beginning, the best company are just an extension of the founders. And as an extension of the founders, it's just an expression of who you are. And I find way too sad that so many entrepreneurs don't believe in themselves. So many entrepreneurs try to look what they think will be serious. So many entrepreneurs try to build an image about what they think the market needs. So many entrepreneurs try to be people that they are not, just to be sure that they are in something that will work. That doesn't work. If, for example, let's take a very concrete example, you don't like to eat and you launch a food company, you are dead. It's an easy prediction because you will always have someone against you that loves to eat. And everything for him will be so important and every details will count that you will have the opportunity that you will never lose because you like to eat. And even if against you, you have someone that have much more money, much more power, much more connection, if he doesn't like to eat, at one point he will get bored. And that thing, that single thing will be the thing that will kill him. Because every opportunity to don't give the best of yourself is an opportunity against your startup. And you need to be very, very cautious about that. You need to take care of yourself and you need to let yourself express. Many times that means work on something else than what you are working on right now. So many times we help entrepreneurs to redefine their project, not around what is good for the market, but what is good for themselves. Because most of the time, people try to launch things because they think that there is an opportunity. That's the lesson they all teach in business school. That's why most of people in business school do horrible startups. Because they go out and they think like, what is the best opportunity out there? Oh, the best opportunity out there is to sell soap. But it's so boring to sell soap. You know 1% of soap market, how much it is? It's 130 billion, 1%. It's one of the biggest market on earth. Like getting 1% of the soap market is maybe one of the biggest company out there. Do you know why there is not a Google of soap? Because no one can be passionate about that. And if you are passionate about soap and you can build the Google of soap, it's a big opportunity. You don't need original ideas. If most startups are with original ideas, not because you need an original idea to succeed, it's because most of original people are radical. It's something hidden behind. It's just the fact that radical people like to go for something new. And it's much more easy to be radical doing itch, for example, than doing soap. But what is important who use itch, for example, here? Oh, you are really not young, guys. So, so if you take a company like itch, why everyone use itch? Because they have this idea that itch is for young people. For example, when I teach in Sciences Po and they are in average 21 years old, and I ask who used itch, 99% of the people raise their hand. And if you ask them why, they say because it's cool. Do you think you can do a business plan with it's cool? Do you think you can go in front of a VC and say, I'm doing the best app because it's cool? No, because all of these people don't get how you build a business. But the reality is that the only way to build a business is that you need to have everyone thinking that what you are doing is cool. And that's hard. That's not free. And the only way to do that is to let express your soul. Thank you very much. So we have a dream at the family is because we switch workshop to English, people will stop to be French and they will ask thousands of questions. So I have 30 minutes and I'm sure you have thousands of questions, concrete case, use case, example, things you don't agree with, things you really did not understand. And no worry, if even you know what, you can ask your question in French even and I will translate it. So who has a question? Okay, I offer lunch for the best question today. That's motivate you? Right.
Oussama, I'd like to know, hello, I'm Timothée. I'm working on a startup called The Place to Coach. I'm interested in having your opinion about who would be the most radical entrepreneur in the world, in your opinion.
I don't know. I don't know what is my favorite book. I don't know. No, what you know what? You can tell me an entrepreneur I can tell you from 0 to 10 how much is radical. That I can do. For example, Mark Zuckerberg is 10 on 10. That's obvious. Like, you know what? Just go on the post about his foundation that is not really a foundation but an LLC and read every single comment he replied this weekend to personally. It's fucking insane. I don't know how a guy at that level can stay so radical. Like, if I was a press service at Facebook, I will kill myself. Really, like, working for someone like that should be horrible. The other example is Mark Andreessen. I don't know how Andreessen or of its PR work, but if you go on Hacker News and you see comments from Mark Andreessen, it's not the comments from a billionaire. It's comments from a random geek guy. And he acts like that. If you take Elon Musk is fucking radical. The problem, by the way, in France we have Frédéric Mazella, like god of radical. It's incredible what he built with BlaBlaCar, and he stands for that for so many years.
Okay, so the most radical, in my opinion, is someone who built up a worldwide company lasting 2,000 years. I would say Jesus Christ was a great one.
Yeah, every single religion have been built on radicality, and that's why we have so many trouble with them.
Of course.
It's as easy as that. Like, you know what? Look, in the corporate world, most of the things we teach, if you teach them outside the corporate world and you teach them in religion or corporate or politics, you will have horrible people. Like the kind of people you don't want to live by. By the way, you know, it's done by OUSSAMA AMMAR, and there was on the picture of the newsletter radical. So I'm sure there is secret service here. So look, there is nothing wrong about radicality at the family. So the point is, of course, and you know, what is incredible to think is that you have some people that wrote books 2,000 years ago, and people still believe in them. Obviously, they get something right. I don't know what, but they get something right. And if you want to build, like Steve Jobs was saying something that is a bit controversial nowadays, but is so right. He said, good entrepreneurs build small and medium enterprise. The best entrepreneurs build billion-dollar company. The real entrepreneurs build religion. Because it's the idea that you get the people to a point where nothing is rational. Look, Apple is selling iPad Pro. Like, they reach a moment where they can do anything they want and it sells.
Okay, I'm an atheist anyway.
What?
I'm an atheist. Anyway.
Okay, that's great. But it's hard to be a total atheist, and it's hard to don't have something you love. For example, if I take my example, I'm always amazed again by Facebook. I think Facebook is one of my favorite company because I don't get how they reach to that level, being so radical. Look, so many features that go against any intuition that we have on Facebook. Do you imagine 10 years ago that so many people will go online and share photos and their private life to anyone? You know, look something. 2008, when Facebook started, everybody was obsessed about privacy settings. I was looking at every single person I friend with these days. They all have public profile. Nobody cares anymore about privacy. So it shows how being radical. You know, Zuckerberg said in the board meeting one day that privacy is over. And he had so many complaints about that and so many troubles, even legal ones. You know, with this crazy German teenager or Austrian that be very successful as suing Facebook. But anyway, people that support that are so with Facebook that it's crazy. Like, I see that in my family, like so many people are on Facebook that I will never had imagined on the computer first. It's amazing. Like, you have 1.5 billion people on Facebook. I didn't even know that 1.5 billion of anything can go on a website. Even if you want to build bots, random bots, and get 1.5 billion random bots going on the website, it's hard at scale. So real human connecting for real exchange with real interaction, that's radical. Question? Ouais, vas-y.
Yes. We're working for people who are looking for their dream house and helping them to find their dream house. And then we're working together with real estate agents because they have the mandate from the seller. So there would be a point where we could go on marketing, say real estate agents are not working fine, they're just cheating you and we're going to help you to find your dream home. So this would be radical to say real estate agents are
But is it true?
Sorry? Yes, it's true. I mean, if you ask a buyer, he will tell you this agent is okay, but this one is not okay. So finally, what they think, maybe like for taxi driver, they think real estate agents don't do their job fine. So at the same time, we need real estate agents to sell houses. So how do you play this?
That's a very common problem is how can I be radical if the people I'm radical with are the one I'm doing business with? So there is a simple rule for that, is that it's called target of truth, is that if what you say you really believe in, you can say whatever you want. And why? Because you will always find real estate agent that agree with you. But the question is, do you really believe that? And do you really believe that real estate agents do things bad? Because being radical is not just about saying things that are radical. It's saying things that you deeply believe in and you think that they are wrong. You think that some agents are deeply wrong. And by the way, you know what makes a good agent. So what you should do is not to talk about bad agent, you should talk about good agent. And that's one of the ways to solve the issue. I will give you a very simple example with our case. We think that most VC sucks. And we say it so many times. Look what we write about them. Look what Jean write about them. Even now that he's at Kima, we keep pushing things together and look his post. Kima just wrote a blog post, VC service game over. Like, we got so many complaints because of this post. Why? Because what we believe is right and we really believe in it. That doesn't mean that there is not extraordinary VC out there. Our problem is not that VC exists, it's that a lot of stupid people are VC. And so what we are doing is that we talk about what makes a good VC. And every good VC recognize. By the way, you know, we published 1 year ago a post called a gentle slap in your face, VC. It's one of the best posts we ever posted at the family. And we explain what gets wrong in every entrepreneur's VC relation. They get late, they don't talk to them the truth, they don't give honest feedback, blah, 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 blah. We get only 2 reactions from VC. The one that are like, oh, this is horrible, I hate you. And by chance, everyone saying that was VC we don't like. And every good VC told us, oh my God, thank you to have write that, because I'm so amazed that no one sees a difference between me and the bad one. So maybe the question for you is to be radical about what makes a good real estate agent. And maybe that's what is missing now on Je rêve d'une maison, is that because you try to save an aspect of your market, you put yourself in a position where you are truth to no one. And you know, being truth to your customer is one of the easiest strategies to succeed on the long term. Maybe you are wrong, maybe they are all good. Because what will happen is that if you say something that is wrong, people will just tell you and they will defend, exactly like on fintech vs Uber. You can say bad on Uber and you have thousands of people that will defend Uber, including Uber driver. That's what makes something radical, is that when people live with it and support it.
Ouais, je vais parler en français.
Pas de problème.
Ok, tu as parlé de la radicalité. Donc la radicalité, en fait, c'est à propos de la passion, finalement, et c'est d'abord la radicalité des fondateurs. Moi, je démarre un truc dans l'artisanat. Mais en fait, comment est-ce que tu switches de gentil à radical? Tu vois, je fais un truc qui plaît bien, qui marche, mais au fond de moi, je sens que je manque de radicalité. Qu'est-ce qui fait que tu passes dans le camp des gens qui sont absolument passionnés et radicaux à propos de ce qu'ils font?
Tu me trouves méchant?
Pas tant que ça.
Bah voilà. Est-ce que tu me trouves radical?
Oui.
Voilà. Donc, déjà, l'opposition gentil-méchant, c'est une opposition qu'il faut s'interdire. Gentil-radical. Il y a des gens très méchants et très radicaux, il y a des gens très méchants et pas du tout radicaux. D'ailleurs, les gens méchants et pas radicaux, c'est les pires au passage. Hein. On devrait tous souhaiter que tous les méchants soient radicaux parce qu'au moins on les reconnaîtrait, quoi. Je veux dire, les méchants average qui disent qu'il faut entendre aux bonnes personnes et tout, c'est les pires, c'est les poisons, c'est les serpents. Donc ça marche pas. Alors la question, c'est que souvent les gens gentils, en fait, ils sont pas gentils, ils ont un manque de courage. Et ils ont un manque de courage parce qu'ils osent pas dire ce qu'ils pensent. Et souvent, il y a une leçon toute bête, c'est que être radical, c'est simplement dire de façon articulée, claire et sans compromis ce qu'on pense. Et ça peut être fait de façon très sympa. Et beaucoup de gens radicaux sont méchants parce que c'est la version la plus simple pour être radical. C'est dur d'être radical et gentil. Parce qu'il faut être suffisamment gentil pour aimer les autres et suffisamment radical pour dire ce qu'on pense. Et alors évidemment, quand on dit ce qu'on pense, des fois on a des réactions fausses. Vous imaginez pas, ma boîte email, c'est un sketch par exemple. Moi, des fois je dis des trucs en plus, je sais pas trop ce que je dis. La dernière fois j'ai dit que tous les taxis étaient des connards. Ah, bon, depuis, mais c'est pas grave, je le pense. Donc, parce que je pense que quand on est dans un monopole, on finit pas autrement qu'en étant un connard. C'est pas la faute d'un taxi en tant que human being, c'est la faute d'un taxi en tant que fonction. Parce que toute personne qui a du pouvoir l'utilise. Les gens sont pas cons. Hein. C'est un truc. C'est vous donnez un truc à un type, il l'utilise. Et c'est pour ça qu'il faut pas donner de pouvoir aux gens. C'est pour ça qu'il faut les contraindre. C'est pour ça qu'il faut créer des systèmes. C'est pour ça qu'il faut les noter. C'est pour ça qu'il faut du feedback. Ça c'est la radicalité. Donc je pense que l'effort que tu devrais faire, c'est te dire, ok, j'ai envie de faire quelque chose. Je trouve que c'est un peu mou tout ce que je fais. En quoi je crois et que je peux le dire clairement et juste voir la réaction des gens si tu commences à le faire. Et simplement expliquer clairement, ça va te mettre dans une position de défense. Parce que qu'est-ce qui va se passer? C'est que toute personne qui exprime clairement, profondément ce qu'elle pense, se retrouve face à une opposition. Et c'est là où la radicalité commence. C'est un mouvement, la radicalité. C'est pas statique. C'est que tout simplement, en face, les gens vont répondre. Et tu auras deux choix face à la réponse. Soit tu renforces ta position et tu la bâtis, soit tu l'adaptes pour qu'en face, il n'y ait plus vraiment de débat. Et c'est le destin de tous les débats. La plupart des débats, qu'est-ce qui se passe dans un débat? À la fin, les gens kind of agree. Tu vois, ils ont le côté, oui, non, c'est vrai, c'est pas faux. Mais ça veut rien dire. C'est comme quand les gens débattent avec moi et me disent, non, mais en partie, je comprends. En quoi, en partie, je comprends? Soit tu es d'accord, soit tu n'es pas d'accord. C'est n'importe quoi. On ne peut pas être d'accord en partie. On ne peut pas être un peu d'accord. On est soit d'accord, soit on n'est pas d'accord. C'est binaire. Et en fait, la radicalité, c'est simplement ramener à cette discipline très binaire. C'est qu'à chaque fois que tu auras du feedback et à chaque fois que quelqu'un essaiera de dire oui, mais en fait, eh ben, tu incises et tu incises et tu incises. Et d'ailleurs, ce qui peut se passer, c'est que tu te rends compte que tu as tort. Ça, je veux dire, moi j'ai changé d'opinion sur plein de choses. Je vais vous raconter une des leçons les plus radicales qu'on ne dit plus. À The Family, on était contre les solo founders. Oui, mais vous voyez le nombre de vidéos où je dis qu'il ne faut pas être solo founder? J'ai complètement changé d'avis là-dessus. De toute façon, être solo founder ou deux founders, c'est la même merde. Alors, je veux dire, autant entre mourir de solitude ou mourir d'engueulade, finalement, je me dis qu'il n'y a pas pire entre les deux. Donc, c'est pas très grave. Mais ça veut pas dire qu'on n'était pas hyper radical quand on y croyait. Ce qui s'est passé, c'est que j'ai eu une solo founder extraordinaire. Parce que c'est ça, quand on a des principes. On finit par se les faire défoncer. C'est le principe des principes. C'est que j'ai eu une solo founder, elle s'appelle Bénédicte, elle fait clustery. Elle a complètement détruit toutes mes préconceptions sur le sujet. Et donc maintenant, je dis, bon, bah, c'est la merde. Il n'y a pas vraiment de leçon. Donc désolé, encore avant, il y avait un petit phare, se dire qu'être à plusieurs, c'était plus simple. Mais en fait, non, c'est pas. Évidemment qu'être à plusieurs, c'est plus simple. Mais si c'est pour être mal accompagné, ça sert à rien. Donc effectivement, ça devient trop subtil comme idée. Donc maintenant, j'en parle plus. Alors vous verrez, j'en parle plus du tout, l'air de rien. C'est oh, c'est le fondeur, oui. Et d'ailleurs, même maintenant, c'est ce qui est génial avec la radicalité, c'est qu'en plus, ça t'aide d'être un peu de mauvaise foi. Par exemple, il y a des gens, je trouve leur projet complètement pourri. Et je leur dis, non, mais tu comprends, t'es solo fondeur, on peut pas te prendre. Et je me dis que de toute façon, ils doivent pas très bien savoir que j'ai changé d'opinion là-dessus. Donc tu vois, c'est pas tout ça en fait. Tout ça doit être vivant. Rien n'est statique. Vous savez, les gens morts sont les gens statiques. Parce que quand on est mort, on ne bouge plus. c'est un truc. Et quand vous êtes vivant, vous bougez. Et donc, il faut comprendre ce mouvement. Et donc, il n'y a rien de figé. Souvent, les gens se disent « Ah oui, mais si je suis radical, bah, je vais être blanc et noir et je ne pourrai pas revenir en arrière. » Ben non, on peut être un jour rouge, un jour bleu, un jour vert. Et ce qui compte, c'est d'avancer. Alors après, si vous changez de couleur parce que vous avez peur des autres, ou parce que, pas parce que vous y croyez, mais tout simplement parce que vous dites, oh là là, voilà ce qu'ils croient, bah, ça marche plus. Et c'est vraiment ça, c'est vraiment une posture qui comprend le feedback, qui accepte le feedback, mais qui ne se laisse pas impressionner par le feedback.
Merci.
Hi. So I have a question concerning more selling to business. So you're like a lot of your examples are selling to users, and I can understand that if you're radical, then it's easier to build a community and have strong super fans, like you're saying. How do you translate this to selling to business?
Exactly the same. Like this distinction between B2B and B2C don't exist anymore. Like, and actually everything I said apply much more in B2B than in B2C. Because in B2C, it's hard to be radical because it's hard to communicate to a crowd. There is so many misunderstanding, misconception when you talk to many people in the same time. What happens when you're in B2B, you have an incredible luck is that you can talk to a very targeted guy in once and for all, and you need to be radical with your client. Understand something, there is not such a thing horrible as a client, because he thinks that he buy you. For example, last week, we had a little trouble with a client. He wrote us an email saying that that was unacceptable as an attitude that we had missed a meeting. And I sent an email saying that that kind of email was unacceptable because our job is not to go in meetings, our job is to do great startups. And if he wants to get back his money, just give me your bank account and I do the wire. He get back and say sorry. Because that's a reality in B2B relation. It's a power struggle. Is that your client thinks that he has power. He doesn't have power, he has respect. Because when you have a client, you need to over-deliver. And most successful B2B startups are startups that over-deliver. Like, client asks for that, and they deliver that. But that doesn't mean that they have power of relationship, and that doesn't mean that they have the right to change who you are. Like, for me, the best example of that is My Little Paris, Fanny Pescioda, he was asking about radical entrepreneur. That's a radical one. Because the first time she got a contract, at that time I was not knowing her, but I remember that because I had a meeting with a client just after her, and the guy was so pissed off. Here's the story. The client came and said to My Little Paris, we love your website, we want to do a campaign, and on that campaign you will add that banner to do your website. And the banner was horrible. And Fanny said, I will not put that banner on my website, I will redesign the banner in the My Little Paris style, and I will do that in the way that I like, because that's the way my client likes, the newsletter fans. And the guy said, who do you think you are? You are this fucking little website, I come and give you a 10,000 budget. Wow. And you refuse my condition? Go to hell, I get out the budget. And she said, I understand. I'm sorry. Rules are rules. 6 months later, the same client came back begging for working with My Little Paris because every client don't get why My Little Paris was not working. And the success of My Little Paris is about the fact that advertising on My Little Paris is never done as advertising. It's done as brand content that is included in the style, etc. On that single choice of radicality, the story of My Little Paris can have been very different. It can have become allocine.com. You know why Allocine is such an horrible platform? It's not because there is advertising on it. I mean, every single, like, there is few crazy people that don't get why there is advertising online. Oh, it's free and it should be free because we are all free. Okay, great. Most of people understand that advertising is needed, but the problem is when advertise hurt user experience. And hurt did so much that you cannot even read what you are looking for. And so one day Google launched TV show time. You type a cinema in Paris and the movie name, and every single slot of time for the movie appear. Why that is an opportunity for Google? Because Allocine screw their community. They not have been radical, they have just been slave of their revenue and their growth, and everyone that take a business decision at OUSSAMA, and they all look serious in their room saying, we did 20% more revenue this year. Yeah, but 20 less percent in the heart of user, and you will be dead soon. And in B2B, that's the question. It's a question of how you can build a relationship that is based on respect, that is based on the fact that the client understands that you are so important as him, that it's an equal relationship, and because it's an equal relationship, you should build things together. So I know that when I talk, people think that I talk more B2C, but actually B2B works much better with this kind of principle because no one is used in B2B to this kind of principle. People still think to build a big company in B2B, you need to don't be radical, you need to make, but actually, look, the perfect example of that is Salesforce. Read the story of Salesforce. Mark Benioff is one of the most radical guys on earth. That guy, like, imagine you are in 1998 and you come and you say, every sales data will be in the cloud. Even the name in the cloud was wrong. Imagine saying to someone that his data will be in the cloud. Like, it's like saying someone, it will be somewhere, I don't know, and we will all smoke together. It will be the cloud. So, if you look every, like, I remember that because at that time there was this consultant that coming and saying, yeah, cloud is not a good example. We did a benchmark with our client and they don't like this word, it will never work. But they didn't know that Mark Benioff was here. And when Mark Benioff is in the room, he gets in a room, and when people get out, they are like, I want the cloud. I didn't get what it is, but it looks so marvelous. And that's what is about radicality, is about the fact that they never compromise. Imagine if Salesforce in 1999 will say, okay, this year we can have grown faster if we had accept on-premise client. Yeah, they will have grown faster in 1999 and be dead in 2000. Because every decision they will have done for getting more clients in 1999 was wrong decision to get client later. And still in 2015, 2015, still in 2015, people still have this debate. Oh yeah, I have a cloud solution, but my client wants me on premise. Yeah, but can you do it well on premise? No, because it's so complicated. So why are you talking about it? And that's what is about radicality. It's also about saying no to customer you cannot deliver or over-deliver to. Yeah, go. Pauline, cours. Ah, sorry. Après,
hello. How do you mix radicality with launching a strategy to launch your startup?
There is not such a thing as a launching strategy. Like, I know that startups love to launch, but I don't know a single startup in the family that launched and did not fail. And you should forget this idea of launch. Launching is just about being out, and that's fine. There is not, like, every launching strategy always ends up the same, failing. Because internet decide when you launch, not you. So just do things, and one day you will tell the story, oh yeah, we'll launch in June. And because that was the only month where you get users. So.
No, but my question was more on, we are working on the B2B market, just to be quick, and we are trying to work on the idea to set up a kind of social media, social network linked with analyse de pratique, which is a deep analytic for the hospitals and so on.
Okay.
So the question is whether...
So why do you want to launch? Get the first client.
Yes, but the question is where to get it, from the nurse schools, from the hospital, from the users?
I don't know. Like, there is no...
So that's the question.
No, there is never no, that's wrong. There is never a different message to different segment. If you don't have a single message for everyone, attends, ici Pauline, parce que les gens lèvent là, ici. If you don't have such a thing as a single message for everyone, it's because your message is not clear enough. If you have multiple layers of users, and you cannot, like, imagine if Google speak differently to a teacher looking for doing their homework, then they will speak differently for a nurse looking for medical information. No, they do search. And they they gave to everyone the idea that they are the best search engine. And that's what you need to build. So first thing, you need to build a common message for everyone. And also, so your question is more about how do I target my first user? Yeah, there is no strategy. Like, look, there is a word that we all get wrong, is strategy. So let me teach you what is strategy. Strategy is the allocation of capital over time. How much do you have on your bank account? So just give me a number. Yeah, for the startup. No, yourself. Okay, nothing. So there is no strategy. If there is no capital to allocate, there is no strategy. Strategy appears the day where you cannot spend all the money of your startup on a single day. That's what is strategy about. If you are Facebook and you have 35 billion on a bank account, you need to have a strategy because you need to allocate the capital over time. If you have nothing and only yourself, you have no strategy. You have only tactics. And the only tactics is to go out and talk to clients. There is nothing else to do. Like, your goal now is to get your first client, and when you get for your first client, to get 2 clients, and when you get 2, to get 10, and to get 10 from 100, and 100 to 1,000. So maybe when you will be at 1,000, strategy can start to appear. But until the day you can do everything by yourself, you should just do it by yourself. And all this strategy crap, forget it. Because it doesn't exist. Strategy don't exist at the startup level. Because strategy is about the idea of making the right move. That's what the strategy is about. Startups don't do right move. At least they move. Like, when a startup moves, it's already a success. Like, most of startups, they just wait and thinking and brainstorming and blah, 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 and they die. Like, that's the life of 99.9% of startups. So don't be in that category. Go on the category of doing things. Yeah.
How do you deal with being radical, but with the ultimate authority, like the law? You mentioned each earlier,
yeah.
And a few months ago they were this close to be killed by a stupid minister or stupid deputy.
That close is enough.
But how do you deal with that when you don't have enough capital to be helped by lawyers, etc., etc.?
So, few things. If you do something that is regulated, at beginning no one cares about you. And because no one cares about you, you don't need capital to defend about no one attacking you. Like, each have been that to be close to be killed because they was big like that. Like, no government on earth will do a meeting for a company with 2 guys in a room with no client. So when you do something that is regulated, your goal is to go as fast as possible. That's the only thing. Like, you need to grow so fast that it's impossible to stop you growing. And that doesn't mean that you will not get killed. That means at least that you have a very small chance to survive. That's first thing. And by the way, each is not safe anymore. Like, they survive, they live, they grow, they are growing, but who knows? Like, yeah, like, you know, after results yesterday, we can imagine that in a year and a half, a more radical stance will appear in France. And if it appears in France, I can tell you startups will be the less problem we have, and each will be die, because you will be in a much more regulated state. So you play with that, and the thing you need also is to build an international expansion. For example, this is why each is launching Poland a few weeks ago, and they will launch a lot of countries, because you need to protect yourself by being outside of France. Because if they kill you in France, you have everything else. So it's a very simple asset allocation strategy. And the last thing is that more you are regulated, more you need to be clean, clear, and radical. Clean, because when you are regulated, you cannot optimize anything. You pay your tax. Like, you know, everyone saying that Uber don't pay taxes are fools. They don't imagine how much Uber paid with tax, because they are not stupid. That's how they buy governments. Like, they come in country and say, we are spending so much money in taxes, you need to let us operate. So thinking that this kind of company optimize the tax, no, because it's not Google. Because when you are inside regulation, you need a leverage. And tax are leverage. You say, look, I pay you a lot of money. If you if you think that I'm not legal, I will not pay tax. You need to be clear because you need to have super fans and everything I said, and you need to be radical because you need to make people understand why you are so important. Because if you look at every regulated startup out there that works, it's because they convince people that the life of people are better with startup running. And for example, you know, everyone that say that Uber jobs are not real jobs are people that never talk with a Uber driver. 80% of Uber driver, I don't say that everyone is happy. I say that for 80% of the people doing drive, it's something that is life-changing, and because it's life-changing, it helps them to have a better life. So when you come and tell them, I will take out your job, they get mad. And that's what is important. Après, on revient à toi.
When should you start doing stuff legally in a startup?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
As soon, that's the question is, for example, for you, each is doing things legally or not? No? They are
Maybe
doing,
not yet.
yeah, they are doing it perfectly legally. It's just that you need to grow up and understand that we don't all agree about what is legal. That's the point. But each on the first with us took lawyers, and I wrote one of the first law argumentation with them in office hours, and they worked with the best lawyers. Il y a du café, tout ça, j'arrive. Worked with the best lawyers about how to make it more legal and on the first. That doesn't mean, because the problem in your definition is that legal means right and that it's easy to know what is legal or not. But there is a way to interpret the law, and there is a way to agree with the law and way of legally disagree with the law. But you should never do something illegal. Never. Is that it's your right as citizen to go out and say that this law is not interpreted the right way. Like, tell me which law say that each is illegal. Good luck. Like, even from high top authorities, even when Macron came here, he said, your case is complicated. You know that you are legal, but taxi are not happy about you. So understand that most of the time legal means that there is a strong lobby against you. And law can change. Like, it's your right to lobby against the law. We are in a fucking democracy. Thinking that law is something magical that live up there and we need all to say, hi, law, we agree with you. That's not which society we are. We are in society where we fight when we did not agree. And if at the end we lose, we stop. Like, for example, Uber lose QPC constitutionnel, blah, blah, blah. They closed Uber Pop. And that's fine. They lose. They should have each. So they did not have the same argumentation that us. That's fine. And they can come back and try something new. And they will. They will come back and try something new because that's the game in a democracy. Is that you need to go in front of a judge and get a decision and fight with every single argument you can. And that's why each won their trial. Why each won their trial? Because judge was like, I don't see where in the law that is illegal. So,
but they needed a budget, no?
Yeah, of course. Like, understand me well. It's not cheap to build this kind of startup. This is why you need traction on the first, because you need to raise money as soon as possible. But again, you need to think dynamically. It's a game you win step by step, and you get money and you fight, and sometimes you think you are dead. Sometimes, you know, in June, they was all sure that it was the end. But they did not let a single day down. And they fight like hell. And we fight like hell. I was spending my nights on their newsletter yelling on everyone because we was not radical enough. Because the worst thing they can have done was to go and tell everyone, oh, we are sorry. We are not fucking sorry. We will fight until death. Because it's our right. And it's the right of every single startup. Il y avait une question par là. Okay.
Je vais devoir la modifier un peu. Kim.com, alors pourquoi il a trop radical ou non, ça doit être ailleurs?
So Kim.com, you know, Mega Upload was clearly in a fight they cannot win because they was against US government. So there is free government on earth you should never piss off. Yeah, only free. There is US government because they put you in jail for your life. There is Russian government, China government because they kill you. And there is Russian government because they put plutonium in your breakfast. So that's the free government you shouldn't mess up with, and mega upload is not a question of legality or not legal. It's just that they piss off US government so high that they did something they never did in their life, and that is totally wrong and illegal. They cut the backbone DNS. And they did it on a level with an FBI investigation. That's a breach of power, but sometimes that's also the consequence. I didn't say that fighting the government was free. I say that like every fight, when you lose, you can lose more than yourself. And I think that Mega Upload went way too far in the fight against someone he cannot win against. And especially because he's not American. And I told you, you need to be clean. He's not clean. Like when you find a house with 100 million in cash, plus guns, plus SUVs and blah, 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 you have a very simple way to get it to. You know, if Mega Upload have been done by a German Protestant without money, living in a small house and not making money from it, Mega Upload will still be up, for sure. It's just that they will never. You know on which charge Mega Upload get down from the FBI? It's not on copyright infringement. It's on money laundering. And you know why? Because the platform was used by any money laundering guy that need a place to crypt data. So you need to choose your fight. Are you making money with the mafia, or are you making money with movies? So that's a very simple thing. Thank you very much. Have a good day and see you soon. Bye-bye.